Hello, and welcome to the second episode, episode 2 of Two Chicks, One Show, presented by allgeek2me.net, where we discuss one currently airing show, an episode a week. My name is Tricia Ennis, she's Kait Calabro, we are the Two Chicks. Today's show is Outlander, episode 2, Castle Leoch.
Okay, so before we dive into our discussion about the second episode of Outlander, we just want to mention briefly that Outlander has already been picked up for a second season, which left some of the book-loving fans a little confused, and there's a little debate. I'm not debating anything because, as we all remember, I am spoiler-free, so I'm, cool with the second season. But we'll talk about a little later in the show about the debate with the book fans.
Yep. Alright, so now back to Castle Leoch, which is an awesome name, by the way. This episode picks up pretty much immediately after the events of the last episode. Claire, Jamie, and all of the Scotsmen arrive at Castle Leoch, which we're going to say a lot, and she gets her first bit of, holy crap, I'm in the past, where she meets the entire cast of characters, including Colum, the ruler of the castle, and Dougal, his brother. Both of them are Jamie's uncles, which we find out later, and both of them also don't trust her because they think that she is a British spy, which leads us into our little discussion, which is that this episode is very much an orientation for both the viewers and for Claire. She is getting a crash course in this Scottish life, and so are you. And I think one of the biggest things, which actually I don't know if this happened when you watch it live, but when I watched the episode on demand later, there's this little, tag at the end where the showrunner, Ronald D. Moore, talks about how the clothing was like its own character in the show. So I think we should start with the clothing. So, Kait, what did you think of the 18th century clothing?
Right now I'm in sweatpants. I cannot imagine having to, sit all day in a corset, let alone then the hip thing was, the hip padding, the corset, the shoes, the socks, I watched it on demand as well, so I saw the, which is really cool, even if you should just fast forward and watch the, inside this episode of Outlander, which is, you learn, awesome stuff, and you get to actually hear the creative people talk about it. So, yeah. I think the funniest part for me was when she, gets undressed and she's sitting there, in her, brassiere, she goes, it's from France, and the lady was like what? So, it was just, it's another symbol of her transitioning into this new world. So I think it was a necessary character thing, but it was also, you get a little humor because Misfits is there.
Right, yeah, I liked it because, like you said, you get to see how much work actually goes into getting dressed in the 18th century, and all I was thinking the entire time was, thank God she's not actually in France, because I can just picture, all of the crazy with the giant dress cages and the insanity of being a noble person. These are essentially peasants. I don't remember what Colum's title is, but he's no more than a baron or something. He's not necessarily a king or something. But I mean, so the clothing itself is insane, and it takes so much work and so much effort, and it's I can't imagine having to wear that kind of clothing, that amount of clothing, that many layers of clothing all at the same time, and having to have somebody else strap you in. That did not look, corsets don't look fun.
No.
At all.
But the thing also is, I know we're a little bit jump forward from the Tudor era, but
yeah, a bit, actually.
They wore that much clothes because they didn't bathe a lot, so it contained a lot of the stink.
True.
So that's also something that you have to remember. They're pretty much covered because they're embodying their humanly scent. So.
That lovely,
yeah, right here.
Sensation. Oh, okay, that's the only pun I'm doing for today. Yeah, but it was interesting the way they did it. I liked that they did it. That's they had one of their two moments. I'm gonna bring this up a bunch probably over the course of the series, as long as they keep doing it the way they're doing it. One of their two moments of nudity in the episode was when Claire was getting undressed, and it's because they had to show all these different aspects of her getting into character and like what it's like getting dressed. You're with another person the whole time. There's not a lot of modesty. And I thought that was interesting, and I liked that it was a story point as opposed to just, hey, look, boobs. Which was nice. And the clothing, I never want to go back in time. No, so much shit. Speaking of boobs, there's a couple aspects where they talk about women in the time period, which of course is going to be, as we were mentioning in the last episode, it looks like it's going to be a major discussion point. Because like it's 200 years in the past, and she's not coming from a time that's well known for respecting women. So in this one, it sort of drives home the role of women in two specific scenes. So you have where you find out Jamie's backstory and how he got whipped after defending his sister.
Yeah.
Which was the other nudity moment where Jack Randall rips open her bodice.
Yeah.
And, you know, which, again, plot point, so it wasn't like, oh my god, just for the sake of showing it.
Yeah.
I liked it. I was like, awesome. We're pushing the plot forward. And then you also get the idea of, and I'm not sure if they're looking for this dichotomy, but where, like, Jamie really respects women. Like, he respects Claire and her knowledge, and he defends women all the time. The rest of the Scotsmen, like, respect women enough.
Yeah.
But, like, the English are not depicted as...
Yeah. I remember I was watching that episode, and I'm like, I don't know if they're deliberately doing this, but, like, they're really making the Scottish people like, yeah, Scotland, and then like English are like a bunch of assholes. I'm like, besides Frank, I'm like, God, these are just nasty. Like,
yeah, and I was thinking the same thing about the Scottish people.
Yeah, like who would have thought time traveling to the 18th century Scotland, you'd find like the nicest group of people that think you're a spy, but yet still treat you like a nice person. Like, oh, we think you're a spy, but you can just walk around, go have lunch. Like, it's like no big deal.
Yeah. It's something that I thought of that was weird. Like, you expect a certain amount of things that we think are rude or horrible in a previous time period. But like these men that she's around are really nice.
Yeah.
All the time. And they're really fun. Like, the guy that's following her around is, like, joking with her about how you want him following you around because this other dude likes to sleep with everything. And
yeah, but even though the other dude likes to sleep, he probably wouldn't sleep with her. Like, it was like, he probably wouldn't go for you anyway. Like,
it's so confusing. So I'm wondering if that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't think that you'll be like, yes, these are definitely the good guys, if they're not like that, or if it's almost a failing of the writing, if, like, I don't know if it's the author of the books, or if it's the showrunner, or if it's the writers of the show, someone is in love with Scottish people.
Clearly. They are leagues above what we have seen as the representatives of the English. It's just...
Yeah.
Granted, Jack, Blackjack
right,
isn't
the English don't exactly have someone great on their side.
Yeah. But, Frank seems like a great guy. But,
yeah, Frank seems nice.
Yes. But there was definitely...
Not his ancestor.
There's definitely a lot of Jamie backstory in this episode.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. You learn about his, like, bad boy life.
Yeah. Which is, like, his bad boy life that isn't even that bad.
He's depicted as, like, an outlaw, but in the same way as, like, Robin Hood.
Yeah. Like, he's an outlaw for, like, doing good things. And, like, he can't stay in the castle because he's an outlaw, but he can, like, train the horses.
He can do all sorts of other things, but careful.
Don't come in for dinner, Jamie. You gotta stay outside. But then he comes to the hall. It doesn't make any sense.
It's weird.
Dinner, but he can come from, like, everyone in the damn village comes to the hall. Wouldn't that be the worst time to come? When everyone else is around?
I don't know. There's that, and speaking of the hall, like, we meet a lot of characters in this episode, and gonna be interesting having to keep them all straight. I'm not gonna remember anyone's name.
No.
I'm just saying that right now. I don't remember anyone's name.
I
Pretty
don't
much.
remember the kid's name. I think he's like a junior. I don't remember the friend's name. I don't remember the wife's name. I remember Miss Fitz. That's about where it ends.
I remember Miss Fitz, and as a Doctor Who fan, I kept thinking Slovene, the whole time. But other than that, she was fun. I liked her. She's obviously going to be one of Claire's like allies.
Yeah.
That was pretty obvious from the beginning. And you meet the Column, who's the ruler of the area, and
who's another really nice guy. Like,
right, he's also really nice, but he has the weird deformation of his legs, which, by the way, really awesome CGI.
Yeah, I was like,
I was really confused for a while whether it was CGI.
If you watch the inside this episode, you learn about it. You see the socks that he wears.
Yep, those are some awesome socks.
Yeah. So that was it wasn't like...
It was some impressive CGI.
I've seen some really bad CGI, like Jeff Bridges and Tron Legacy, but that was bad. No need for it.
No need for that.
That's a whole different topic.
Yes, back on the topic. Anyway, so you meet him, you meet his brother,
we get to know more about his brother. His brother's in the first episode.
Oh, right, Dougal is in the first episode.
Which is an awesome name. Dougal.
Dougal is an awesome name. He seems like he will eventually be an ally.
Yeah.
But, like, the kind that's really well earned.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting to see, like, how that...
Like, Dougal is, like, the bad cop, but he's still not mean about it. He's like, yeah, I think you're a spy. Yeah, I'm gonna have people follow you. Duh. Like, come on.
Yeah. And then you meet her friend, the witch.
Yes. People say she's a witch.
Yes, quotes. She's the witch.
Because apparently in 18th century, if you know about herbs, and if you know how to, like, put a bandage on, you're a damn witch.
No, you're totally a witch.
Yeah.
I think that now.
I think that now.
Surgeons, witches.
Yeah, exactly.
Witches with scalpels.
There's no science to it.
None at all. What are you talking about? They don't go to school for science. They go to school for witchcraft.
Exactly.
So then the other thing that was interesting was learning about the politics and, like, the history of the area. Mm-hmm. You sort of really quickly, and I wrote this in my notes, I was like, she goes straight for the books. Which I thought was interesting. It's totally what I would do. Like, let's get some context. Look books. Yeah,
because I guess they don't hang, like, a calendar in your guest room when you...
maybe not. Maybe, like, one of those word-a-day calendars.
Yeah.
Gaelic.
Gaelic. She could use one of those.
Yeah, so, like, she remembers quite a lot of the history, and I think that's, in part, convenience, and in part, pointing out how smart she is, like, reminding you that she's really intelligent. So, like, she remembers history, she remembers stuff that Frank tells her.
Well, yeah, she's clearly educated. I think, you know, dealing with her uncle was an archaeologist, so she knows, she has history, and then she's married to a professor of history. Yeah. So, like how she was pretty well when she first time traveled, when she came in, she's still, that thing is still continuing where she's still educated. So she's like, she time traveled, but she's doing pretty good for herself. Yeah, she's got some of the knowledge. She manages to guess which king is in power, even though it's at a very confusing time period for which king is in power. Yes.
Which is good. And I was actually thinking, like, if an American were to travel, not back in time to, like, England, because, no, we're totally screwed, but even back in time in America, if you were to land in a random-ass time, would you know which president was president?
Probably not.
Yeah, like, I might be able to guess if it's certain years and based on certain context, but probably not.
Probably not. And that's saying a lot because there's only, like, what, 200 years for us?
Right, there's 200 years and 44 presidents.
Yeah, but we still, like, unless it was Lincoln, Washington.
Or it's 43 presidents, 44 times, something like that, because one of them was president twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
One of
sure.
them was. I don't remember which one. It was like McKinley or four. I don't remember which one. Someone's going to probably comment and be like, "You're an idiot." It was this one. Um,
We're film majors, not history.
seriously, my history knowledge, at least like post high school, is in the Cold War, so I know all about Russia and think about America.
I actually know more about the British Empire than I do about America. But go Ben Franklin.
Nothing about America. So yeah, the whole episode just made me go, I'm so glad I'm not time traveling.
Mhm.
Um, and then there was her seeing like thinking about the history and how like all this, she knows things to put things in context, but she's still gotta like tread carefully. And then she sees like the little kid playing with his uncle, and she's like, and you see like quote history come alive.
Yeah.
Um, and like the difference between what you read in books and the fact that this stuff actually happened. I mean, not
Mhm.
this specifically, but like that time actually existed. People lived every day. It's not so different from now.
Yeah.
They just don't have iPhones.
Yeah.
It's really the
Oh,
only difference. iPhones.
yeah, Wi-Fi. High definition. That's it. That's all that's different.
It's really all that's different.
Yeah.
So one of the things that happened a lot in this episode was flashbacks, and you said to me earlier that you didn't like the flashbacks.
It's not that I liked the ones where we got new information or we see scenes that we haven't seen before. Like I remember when she's first in the room and she's talking to Colum about, and she's trying to figure out. She has these flashbacks to her and Frank, and I think the Reverend, like at a pub in Scotland, and Frank's like telling them like what you should and shouldn't do during like an interrogation. So it was a useful thing that she was flashing back to. Do I think it was necessary that while she's walking through the castle we saw flashbacks to her and Frank at the castle? No, I just saw that a week ago. I don't think it's necessary, but then in the same breath, you might not have been able to get a reaction, the right reaction the showrunner wants to from their audience if there wasn't a flashback. I just personally didn't think it was necessary.
I liked both. Like I loved the flashback, especially the one you were talking about where she's getting information about from Frank about how to act in an interrogation.
Yeah.
Where she's like remembering what he taught her, even though he wasn't really teaching her anything, he was just sort of shooting shit.
Mm-hmm.
So like she remembers this is what you should do in an interrogation, this is the thing you should learn, and blah blah blah, and she's remembering and doing all this stuff. So it again drives home the fact that she is actually extremely intelligent and remembers these things and remembers that they're important and apparently remembers freaking everything even when she's drunk. And I liked the flashbacks when she's walking through the castle and you're seeing flashbacks to her and Frank, because even though it was just last week, and yes, I remember that they walked through the castle, I liked that you see her remembering, oh, this is where Frank and I just were, and especially at the end. Like, they did at the beginning to set up for the end part where she's walking down the hallway and has this really ominous feeling because she doesn't know what this room was actually used for.
No. Totally. Bum, bum, bum.
Frank sort of had sex.
Yeah. But then there's also, you can say that was like from the first episode, it was foreshadowing, because when she first walked into that room in the first episode, she was like, and she kind of like, you could, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like she almost felt the history.
Yeah.
That she actually walked through this room 200 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument for that. Speaking of that room, there's a lot about, well, not a lot, there's a little bit about the different kinds of outsider that you can be in the episodes, and she gets to be all of them. So, like, at first, she's Sassenach, who's just English, Outlander. People are a little wary because they're at war with the English at that time, I guess.
Are they at war, or is it just that England has now recently taken over Scotland?
Yeah, I think it's more like English occupation.
I think it's England's now occupying Scotland, and Scottish people are like, what the hell?
Yeah, and the English are at war with the French.
Yes, that's hardcore. But I think Never mind. I was gonna
Okay.
say, like geographically, sometimes the France could come in through Scotland and down, but maybe I don't know.
Well, I think so too, because she talks about going north to go to France.
Yeah, which Scotland's is pretty north.
It's pretty north, but so is France, I guess. Again, as Americans, we have really crappy grasp of European geography.
No, I'm pretty sure France is a lot.
Oh, I know it's right there. It's like the.
Yeah, but I think, and this is from my knowledge from CW's Reign, I think you can go in Scotland and then like do like a sneak attack.
So I guess it makes sense for them.
Yeah.
To be occupying. Okay. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So at first she's just an English person. And then they start to think she's a spy for the English.
Which completely makes sense. That would be my first assumption.
No, yeah, totally. Especially because they can tell she's lying.
Yeah.
And of course she's lying. She's from the future.
But the whole thing is like,
tell you that.
The moment she said, "Oh, you guys are gonna get ambushed right there," oh, duh! Of course you're gonna think you're a spy. Who knows that?
Yeah, she knows that, and then of course, like, yeah, spy I think totally makes sense. They definitely think she's a spy, and then she just keeps sort of running her mouth.
Yeah.
She can't seem to stop talking, which is not helping matters.
No.
At all. Not even a little.
It's not like she's not. It's like she's kind of adapting well, but then she's not adapting well. It's like, maybe you should just take it back a notch.
Right, she keeps wanting to interact with people.
Yeah.
And, like, take charge.
I probably, like, wouldn't leave the room. I'd probably just stay in my room for, like, ever until they let me go.
Yeah, like what she does when she realizes she's being followed.
Yeah, like, she just goes,
I'm gonna make it really boring for you. It's like, you should have been doing that from the beginning.
Yeah.
But her logic aside, she then, of course, she's concerned about Jamie the whole time because she's worried that his wound is going to get infected, which, of course, is a stop using.
Yeah.
And so she is constantly doing her, weird healery things, and so you get this sort of little inkling that maybe witchcraft is still a thing, and of course, all of us immediately think, ooh, witchcraft is bad.
Yeah.
And that's going to turn out really horribly for her. And the thing that I think is interesting is that at the end of the episode, when she's essentially a prisoner, when he talks about her being a healer and essentially saying she's a witch, it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing, necessarily.
It's not, like, I think
it's a useful role.
I think it's like a taboo to be like a witch, but they're like, we kind of need them. It's like she's needed for her healing power, and she's a witch, but we still need her.
Right, and I think that they set that up
in the basement. Like, just keep her down in the basement, and everything will be good.
Yeah. Keep her in this little room.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty big room. She's got a window. It's like
better than most dungeons.
Yeah, it's better than most garden apartments.
I think they set it up pretty well in the first episode by them pointing out that this area of Scotland is still very superstitious. Yeah. So they're still a little holding on to, like, some of their druid roots.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're more accepting of the idea of there being healers. And so I thought that was interesting, that her being a witch isn't a witch. Her, like, healing ability and then thinking that she's a witch isn't necessarily bad.
No.
It's not necessarily good. She can't leave, but they're not killing her.
The whole thing is she wasn't gonna leave. If they think you're a spy, like, why would you think they're gonna be like, okay, bye?
Yeah, go on back. That's fine.
Yeah, have fun in France. Like, no.
Yeah, she had some confusing things about her story and stuff, and she just not, like, the fact that she just thought they would let her go, even though they obviously think she's a spy.
It's like, you think she would remember the stories that Frank told her that most of the time they don't let people that they interrogate leave.
Yeah.
You would think she remembered that. But I guess
no, she remembers the only lie a little bit part. Yeah. And then proceeds to lie kind of a lot.
Yeah. Well, she got distracted by food and wine. Which,
yes, exactly.
Of course.
She just goes into this whole thing about her like French ancestors, and
Which
I
I
was
know,
really curious about if England is at war with France, why is she talking so much about France?
it's a good point.
I don't know. We continue to debate her logic, and I don't think that that's really at play here.
Yeah, I think I would like to say it was a good story to come up on the like top of your head.
Yeah, no, it was. It was
Yeah.
really
Like kudos to
well.
her. I would have been like, oh, I was traveling and I just got lost.
Yeah. And they do bring up rape at one point, which was interesting.
It was
I was glad they didn't linger on it.
no, it was a fast-moving conversation, but I think it was an interesting conversation. It's another, conversation for a Claire character thing. The whole rape discussion, and he goes, so yeah.
Yeah, the whole is there ever a good reason for rape?
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then there's also with the whole witch thing, she manages to immediately befriend the town witch.
Yes. Who
Which on the one hand seems like a really bad idea, and on the other hand is like, oh well, of course she's gonna befriend the town witch. Who else is she gonna befriend?
yeah. And I want a spin-off with her.
You want to spin off with the witch?
Yeah, she seems like an interesting lady.
I like that the actress is Dutch.
Yeah. A Dutch actress who is playing a Scottish witch.
Yes. So I liked the witch conversation. It was way different than I thought it was going to be because you kind of knew going in the whole herbs and healing and stuff that there was going to be some talk of witchcraft, but I liked how they handled it in that it wasn't a death sentence because I was a little concerned that it was going to be a little too because I was the whole time because I have a little knowledge of witchy stuff that in America our witch trials were in the mid 1600s. In England and most of Europe, they were in like the 1400s.
Well, I think that it just proves that.
So that's why I was concerned.
I think if it was anywhere else in Europe, she would probably be locked up in a dungeon and like thrown stones at.
But then again, the Scottish people are awesome and they love
Scottish people apparently just like are like a big old like let's have a party. We're nice to everyone even when we're spying on you.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a lot of the pagan thing is still clearly relevant within when she was in the 20th century. So clearly it's still kicking in the 18th.
Yeah, and obviously some of that mysticism is still going to be threaded throughout the show because, hell, she got magicked back 200 years.
Yeah.
So, and I'll be interested to know, because, like, even though I'm reading the books, I'm not very far still. I'll be interested to know.
Same spot as you were last week, or have you?
I'm a little further. A little further. I'll be interested to know if she's correct that she just has to go back to the stones.
Yeah.
But people are laughing at us.
Pretty sure that dance is gonna have to happen again.
Yeah, they'll have to participate in a weird ass dance.
Yeah, that's gonna have to go down.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if and how she gets back to the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
And if she does, if and how she gets back to the 17th or 18th. I keep saying 17th even though it's the 18th.
Well, because it's 1700.
I know, I get my brain.
Shit. Who the frick? I'm gonna go back in time and kick that guy's ass. What?
Well, because like the year 10 wasn't the 0th century; it was the first.
This is so exhausting.
Unless you want to say 0th.
Yeah.
I would like to live in the year 1.
Yeah, year 1.
What was going on in the year 1? Obviously Christ had just died and some things were happening. But anyway, okay, so you had some problems. There was a lot of Gaelic.
Yes.
In this episode, and there's probably going to be a lot of Gaelic in the future.
Which, like, I'm chill with. It's not the language that bothers me. And I've said, I watch pretty much everything with subtitles on. That's just how I roll. I don't like to miss things, so I watch things. Like I said to you earlier, I watch Say Yes to the Dress with subtitles on. And
I'm done with you watch Say Yes to the Dress.
Why not? It's fun. Watch it. That's not what this topic. It's not what this topic is. And so it just kind of bothers me when they have like full-on conversations in Gaelic, and I'm just like, so speaking in Gaelic, give me something. I understand why we don't have it. We're supposed to, like, the audience is supposed to be like how Claire is, and she has no idea what's going on. But like, is it gonna be like this the whole time? Like, is she gonna learn Gaelic so then I can like know what's going on?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if she starts to learn it, but at the same time, the disorientation of not knowing it. I mean, it means she has to rely on people.
Yeah.
On her friend who has a weird name that I don't remember.
I think it's like Gillies or something.
It's probably nowhere near that, though.
It starts with a G. I wrote it down.
It does start with a G. And I don't know. I was fine with it. It's interesting to hear Gaelic spoken because I don't hear Gaelic spoken all that often.
Oh, really? Because my neighbor speaks it.
What?
Joking.
A joke that nobody heard.
I said my neighbor speaks it, so I hear it all the time.
Does your neighbor really speak it? Okay, good. Because I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if your neighbor really spoke it.
My mom's right now speaking outside.
Now you're just being a jerk. No, the only Gaelic I vaguely know are the stuff that are on, like, the plaques and things that you see scattered all over Irish people's homes.
Yeah.
I think we have one over there. But yeah, no, I have no trouble with the Gaelic thing because, like you said, like you're supposed to be seeing everything from Claire's perspective, and she doesn't know it, and therefore you don't know it, and you're always following her. You're never seeing something that she's not seeing, which I do kind of like.
Yeah.
I like that we don't necessarily know things that Claire doesn't know. I don't always like that kind of knowledge. My problem with the episode, you had your problem with the Gaelic. My problem is Jamie. Okay? He is too perfect. He literally has no flaws, and it's starting to piss me off.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I don't want to. This comes into like the prediction, but I think there's definitely something more to the chick that he saved in the hall.
Okay, see, now this is what I was thinking the whole time.
But
like,
see, because as a viewer, we're seeing through as Claire, we don't know yet.
Right, I get that, but here's what I was thinking the whole time I was watching the episode. Like, you get all this, like, Jamie with women and, like, his sister, and he's a really nice guy, and he's an outlaw, but he's not a bad outlaw, and he's, you know, he's the semi-bad boy who's really not all that bad of a boy. And, yes, and, so he has like no friggin' flaws. He's like a super nice guy. He's really handsome. He respects her. He isn't suspicious of her.
Yeah.
Lets her tend to his wounds and yada yada yada. And then this whole punishment thing shows up, which is obviously a part of daily life at this castle.
I think it's a weekly occurrence. Yeah.
It's obvious. It's normal. It's a normal thing that happens. And this guy comes up and says that he wants to punish his daughter because she's a loose woman. And he just waltzes on up and is like, I'm going to take that punishment. And yes, I agree that there's probably more to the story. He's not just doing it out of the goodness of his heart like he would do it for any stranger.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the whole time she's looking at him, I'm expecting him to let it happen, and for that to be the thing that she sort of holds against him until she gets used to this scenario. I just need him to have a flaw, like, really soon, or I'm going to get bored.
No, I understand what you're saying. Clearly he's a dreamy dude. So, like, I think I'm also like Claire, and I'm just like, oh. But, so, like, I'm not into, like, the whole flaw thing yet. I do think there has to be something more with the chick, because if you're the girl that he takes the punishment, the specific chick I'm talking about.
There's a specific chick, it's not just all the chicks.
Yeah, no. There has to be something more to that, because as soon as she's brought in, whoever he's with, they start whispering and blah, 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 and going back and forth. He's like, no, bro, don't do it. Like, save yourself, bro. And, like, you know, and then the uncle, Dougal, gets, like, pissed that he does it. And, like, makes the guy, like, legit punch him where he got shot. So then there's something else going on that we don't know.
I didn't know if the thing with Dougal was that specific scenario or if it was just that Dougal doesn't approve of Jamie.
It was like,
Or like Jamie's method.
it could be that specific scenario, approval, or hey, you're an outlaw in my brother's castle, and now you're making a frickin' scene.
True.
So who the hell knows? Like,
I need Jamie to have some flaws because perfection is boring, and yeah, he needs at least a couple of just little things that are not necessarily bad things, but that are just things that we disagree with as an audience or as Claire.
There also could be, for a split second, I thought maybe Jamie was, you know, how can I say it? Like, working Claire. Like, like when they're at the stables and he tells her his whole entire damn story.
Right.
Like, how he's an outlaw. Why would you tell someone who's your uncles think is a spy, and you clearly know, like, you told her, like, you're not safe, you're safe with me, but you're not safe anywhere else. Why would you tell her this unless you're maybe doing some kind of spy work for your uncles yourself?
Right, and it could be that, or he could just be a really bad flirt.
This is true.
I thought maybe.
I don't know, but I agree. I think there has to be some kind of flaw with Jamie.
But he needs more characterization beyond he's exactly what you think he is. He's amazing. Carry on.
Yeah. Because, like, I'm still holding a torch for Frank here. And it's hard, but I like Frank.
Oh, speaking of Frank, that was one of the things I wanted to bring up. The flashback, not the flashback, but, like, the thing where she's saying, like, what is Frank doing? He must be searching for me, like, assuming that I've gone missing or, worse, taken up with another man. I want to know if that scene where he's looking for her actually happened or if it's in her brain.
Oh.
If there's going to be things that she imagines Frank doing.
I interpreted it as Frank actually doing it, because I believe Frank would do that. I think when Frank is completely madly in love with Claire, I don't think
I agree that he would totally do that. I'm just wondering if we're allowed to see anything that's actually happening that she doesn't
see. That's not directly related to her.
Yeah. Because everything else that happens in the episode, she directly witnesses.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even think of that.
I don't know if this will come into play at any point in the future, but that was my thought the whole time.
We're just really going in too deep here, but,
Probably going in too deep here.
That's like I didn't even think of it like that. I just thought I thought that was what Frank was doing.
Face value. Well, yeah, I don't take anything at face value when it's a Ronald D. Moore show.
It's just because, I love Frank so much. I wanna believe the good in Frank.
I do too. I want to believe the good in Frank, and I don't disagree that he's probably looking for her.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious.
I don't think Frank would ever remarry. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I don't think he would, but I honestly don't know. At the same time, I'm curious to see how much time actually passes in her time period.
Yeah.
Well, no time necessarily needs to pass.
Yeah, it's going to be like one of those annoying things where it's like you've been there for like 10 years and it's only been like 2 days.
Or like a second.
Yeah.
Or like nothing. It could have been a dream.
Yeah.
Clearly never tried.
Like Frank finds her laying there.
Oh my goodness, I swooned. And I had this very long dream. And there was Scotsmen there, and I got married or something. Anyway, so did you have any other topics about the episode specifically, or can we get into some of like the less episode specific?
No, you can get into some of the less.
Okay. Here's something that annoyed me about just what's going on, and you mentioned at the top of the show that season 2 is official, it's happening.
Yes.
And apparently, and now like I said, I'm only a little bit into the first book, but obviously there are more books after this, so the first season's probably going to be the first book, second season will be the second book. So season 2 happens, and the people that have read the books, and this isn't a huge spoiler, it's only a little bit about the setting, so if you're like trying to stay super spoiler free, like plug your ears or turn something mute, I don't know, something. But in the second book, it's 20 years later. So Claire has gone from being in her 20s to being in her 40s. And people are saying, Can the same actress play Claire in her 20s and also play Claire in her 40s? Are they going to recast the character? And for one thing, the author of the book has said, hell no. Like, of course we're not recasting the character. This woman is great for it. She has a strange name, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it.
She goes by Kait.
She does go by Kait? Okay. So, she's perfect for the role. I think she's great in the role.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, we're not going to recast it. And the actress is 35. So if she's playing Claire in her 20s now, of course she can play her in her 40s next year. They just have to, like, age her up a bit, or she can just be a really pretty 40 or something year old. But at the same time, my other issue is that no matter how many of these adaptations we do, people who read the books are still completely convinced that they're not going to change anything.
Uh-huh.
Like, no one says that next season is actually going to be 20 years later. Next season could be 10 years later. They could just make Claire 35.
Yeah. The whole thing is, first off, let's say, season 2 is not going to happen for maybe over another year, because they're splitting season 1.
Right. So it could be a full year.
Yeah. If not longer, because the second half of season 1 isn't coming back till 2015. So I don't know how. So we have some time here. It's always easier to make an actress look older than to make an actress look younger.
Most definitely.
So that's another thing. I don't think that will be an issue. As far as they might not do the 20 year?
20 years.
They're not going to do a 20-year time jump. Let's be real. Timelines in adaptations get so messed up, it's not even funny.
Well, Game of Thrones is what, 6 months?
Game of Thrones, I believe the whole series is supposed to take place maybe 6 months to a year. From season 3 to 4 was supposed to just be a year. So clearly time has to change. So They might do, instead of a 20-year, they might just do a 5-year time jump or something like that.
Like,
I highly doubt.
I'm not going to say any more about the plotting of, like, what the setting of book 2, season 2, whatever. I understand people who read the books, why it's 20 years, but I don't think it's necessary for it to be 20 years. Yeah. And even if it is, whatever. I think we'll be fine. Just stop freaking out and let them write their shit.
Yeah. Or, like, freak out once it happens. I hate, like, it's like people are already, like, something, like, just because you're already freaking out. Like, just freak out when it happens.
Freak out when it happens. Make your critiques later. Yeah. I try to be the kind of person who, when something I like is adapted, is open-minded about the adaptation, because there's going to be changes. That's the thing I don't get, is people who steadfastly believe they're going to do everything exactly as it is in the book. There's going to be changes. Yes. It's whether or not they stick to the main thing about the book, the main theme or the main message or story, or do they get the seed of the story and they manage to make it work.
Yes.
You know, time constraints, it's all this stuff. So my thing is just chill out, calm down. The show is pretty good so far, whether it's a perfect adaptation or not. It's pretty damn good.
There's no such thing as a perfect adaptation.
Oh, no, there's certainly no such thing as a perfect adaptation. You're always going to have critiques.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're going to add things probably. They'll change things. They might combine characters along the way. But if you're going to be really concerned about the age of the main character, you're probably going to have issues when they change other things.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, speaking of Game of Thrones, the other big Outlander thing on the internet this week was that the guy who plays Jaime auditioned 7 times for Game of Thrones and was never cast. And people can't seem to get over it. Like, oh my god, how was he never cast?
Okay, first off, what if he was cast in Game of Thrones, then we wouldn't be talking about him in Outlander, would we? So shut the hell up.
Great in Outlander.
Yeah. And, you know, people don't get cast all the time. He got auditioned for Renly, for Baratheon, who dies season 2?
I'm going to assume season 2, but since I'm not that far yet.
I believe it all kind of blends together after a while. I believe he dies in season 2. Then he tried out for Marjorie's brother, who was actually Renly's lover, who, I can't think of his name. I think it's like Loris.
I don't know. He has like a weird title.
He's like the Knight of Flowers.
Yes, Knight of Flowers. I'm like, wow, if that doesn't scream I'm the gay knight, I don't know what does.
He's supposed to marry Cersei, but that's not gonna happen. I don't want to give away too much because you haven't caught up.
Yeah, I haven't, and also our viewers may not have. We're not here to spoil Game of Thrones.
Whatever. Just read my recaps if you want to know. allgeektome.net. So he would not have been good for either one of those roles.
No.
No way. Maybe, like, he'd be pushing it for the Lord of Flowers. And I'm just saying that because he has the hair. That's the only reason I'm saying he could maybe play it. Those are the two main roles. He, like, tried out for, like, a bunch of stuff on, like, as Men of the Night Watch. Still, probably wouldn't be good. So, like, get over it. If he was on Game of Thrones, granted, he'd probably be dead by now. Especially if he played Renly, he'd be dead. He wouldn't be an Outlander. So, okay, water under the bridge.
Yeah, like, oh my goodness, he didn't get into Game of... Not every single British actor has to be in Game of Thrones, although I have a feeling that Outlander, as long as it lasts pretty long, may turn into a Spot That Game of Thrones character, slash Spot That Doctor Who character, slash Spot That Harry Potter actor, which is exactly what Game of Thrones is.
Uh-huh.
But,
because
I mean...
we have a Game of Thrones character already in Outlander. We have a Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Harry Potter.
Is there Harry Potter yet?
No, I thought maybe you already saw him.
No, it always turns out to be that because those are like the big British things and everyone's in everything.
Yeah.
So like half of the characters from Game of Thrones were in Harry Potter and another half of them were in Doctor Who and a big chunk of them were in all three.
Yeah.
So.
No. We'll see, but people just get over it.
So those were the two big newsy things, and they were kind of annoying newsy things because
they were like everywhere. Yeah, constant.
Yeah, people were talking. Everyone was talking about him not getting into Game of Thrones, and I was like, okay, he didn't get.
I just want to say that the guy, one of the showrunners, David, is married to Amanda Peet, who's an actress who I absolutely adore, and she has yet to be. She goes, I walk around my house every day trying to audition for Game of Thrones, and he'll never. So that just shows not everyone's meant to be in Game of Thrones, man. Just let it ride.
That's also Amanda Peet. I don't know who she would be in Game of Thrones.
Find her to be someone. Come on. I love her.
Background. The random American actress. Oh, goodness. All right, now before we get too off topic, I think we should wrap things up. Do you have any predictions for the future?
I strongly believe that the chick that Jamie found or saved has something to do with Jamie. Let's see other predictions. I think that Claire is going to try to heal Cullum's legs, and it's going to go wrong, and maybe she'll end up killing him. And
I feel like he's way past being healed.
I know, but she might try. Because she's like super nurse, so you don't know.
Maybe she'll use what she knows about his illness as blackmail.
Yeah, but he doesn't know it, so the disease hasn't even been named for what he has. Like, they don't even know what he has.
Right, but she could be like, I'm magic, and I know that your disease should have killed you many years ago. You're borrowed time. Perhaps you don't seem frail.
I think there's something up with the kid. I don't know what.
The fact that he's going to stick up his ass?
Yeah, but, like, I feel like maybe he really isn't Cullum's kid, and maybe he really is the brothers.
Maybe he really is Dougal's son?
Yeah. Like, I think there's something up with that because all three of them got extremely defensive. Like, relax.
Yeah. They really did. Maybe
I'm the rightful heir of this castle. And we're like, okay, dude, no one, like, she just made a mistake. It's my second day here. Like, give me a break.
Right? It's her second day there. She's not from here. She's English.
She saw the kid playing with the uncle.
And then she, like, really quickly excuses herself and gets really upset. And I'm just kind of like, you just misidentified a child.
It wasn't a big deal. Like, the kid wasn't sitting there already. Like, the kid was late for dinner, for Christ's sake.
He was late for dinner. My phone is ringing. It's about to talk, too. Yeah, I have a talking phone, and it's about to interrupt my show.
Call from Martha Coakley.
Anyway, Martha Coakley. I live in Massachusetts, and she's running for governor. Anyway, so... Shut up, phone! Okay. Anyway, and on that note, I think we should wrap it up. So I'm going to say thank you for tuning in to Two Chicks, One Show, Episode 2. Make sure you let us know what you thought about Episode 2 of Outlander, including anything you thought about all of the nonsense that we just spewed in the comments. Be sure to subscribe for the latest episode every week, and be sure to tune in next week for Episode 3 of Outlander. Goodbye.
Adios.